What if your entire calendar, your long to-do list, your file on your notes app, or the reminders on your phone, what if all those things were centered around festivities? What if everything that you long to accomplish, the things that brought out celebration in your life, like walking down the aisle, like receiving a diploma, getting that job that you really wanted, being able to keep that position that you hold so dear. What if all those moments of celebration were guaranteed? I think oftentimes when we talk about a sense of something being guaranteed in religious circles, we really just talk about salvation and how we are guaranteed that through Jesus Christ. And I believe that, and I claim that. I do want us to dive in a little bit deeper, specifically as it pertains to the theme of harvest in the Old Testament, and how God had structured all of Israel's calendar through moments of like festivals and feasts. And one such moment of festivity was the Feast of First Fruits. And the Feast of First Fruits was during the time of the wheat harvest. And at that time, the people would go and harvest the wheat, and they would bring the first fruit of that harvest, the first sheaf of that wheat, and offer it to God. And in so doing, they would dedicate the rest of their harvest, right, to God. And I love that because, in a way, when we think about this for a moment, we're able to see that God organized Israel's calendar in such a way that feasts aligned with harvest. And what that tells us is that every single calendar year, at a specific time, they would experience the Feast of First Fruits. And if the Feast of First Fruits was set on the calendar, then they could be fully expectant that they would reap a harvest in order to celebrate that feast that God instituted. Now there's something wonderful about that, and perhaps we don't value that in our society today because we're thinking about other things. But just think about it for a moment, the fact that if I am going to go plan, if I'm going to go work on this field, and I know that this feast is scheduled, that it's coming, this holiday is coming, that God in a way has scheduled my life for me to be fully expecting of reaping a harvest, then how would that affect my stress levels when I went to work on my field? How would that affect my anxiety for having a good crop that season? How would that affect my scheduling, in which how much time I'm spending to go work on this field, and I'm obsessing over the fact of it going well, versus being able to schedule some of that time away from the field and really depositing it into my family, into my wife, into my children, into my pets even, and fortifying those relationships, because now I know the promise that God has for me. As long as I plant something, I will be able to the land will be able to yield something for me at the time of harvest, because the celebration is coming and God has promised. There's something beautiful about that, because now we see that since God instituted this celebration on the calendar, therefore the provision was also guaranteed. It's kind of like your 30th birthday. You know, your 30th birthday, there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's coming. And as you're turning 30, as you're going through this festivity, as you're planning your big 30th birthday party, not only can you do nothing to stop your 30th birthday, you also can't do anything to stop all the back pain that comes from turning 30 and being in your 30s. And I know that's probably not the best illustration, not something you want to think about, and maybe your back started hurting when I just mentioned it. But the truth is that that's how God organized things for Israel, that there would be a feast coming. There's nothing they can do to stop it. It's already on the calendar. And with that, they can count on the fact of, in this case, perhaps not back pain, but they can count on the fact of having a harvest. to be able to celebrate together as a community. As a community. The New Testament goes a little bit further with this, and perhaps this is where you were thinking about harvest, right? And Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. He says the following. He says, "But Christ has indeed been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. For since death came through man, the resurrection of the dead comes also through man. For as in Adam all die, so in Christ all will be made alive." That's a beautiful promise that Paul has for us. It's particularly resonating with this theme of harvest and specifically with the Feast of First Fruits. And I dare to ask you, when was perhaps the most recent time that you took a moment to think about what Jesus' resurrection means for you? Not only what it means for you, but what it promises for us. That we are claimed, that we are part of this harvest that he is coming back to get in his second coming. That we belong to him. And I believe that this understanding helps us to have a better perspective of life. Because when it comes to life, man, and sometimes life gets messy and it brings certain things your way, it brings certain struggles your way, right? Struggles with friendships, with finances, with responsibilities, with conflicting opportunities. And during that time, can we take a moment to see it all within the backdrop of a harvest celebration guaranteed by God? So as we go through this theme of harvest, as you go through this theme of harvest, I would like to start it with a promise, with this verse from Psalm. See, while you trek right through this, and my prayer is that you may be filled with song and with praise, as this psalm mentions. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the people praise you. Then, listen to this, the earth shall yield her increase. There'll be a harvest beyond our expectation. God, our own God, shall bless us. Again, as you trek through this theme of harvest, not only may this resonate with you, but may you find an encounter face to face with God where you are able to whisper or cry these words to him. God, my own God, bless me.